Namaste everyone, welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House. We are on the last few verses of the chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita, which Bindoji has been offering from the Advaita perspective. The replays of all the earlier rooms are available if you want to go listen to them in Clubhouse or in Advaita Retold YouTube channel. The link is there in the chat. The alternative links are for Apple Podcasts and Spotify, where these talks are archived. You can also avail a book that was published by Artemisia based on Bindoji's insights into Advaita. It's been published on Amazon. As Bindoji reminded us on Sunday, we'll have 2 more rooms, after which Bindoji will be traveling to Australia. And then the rest of the dates will be scheduled after he settles down there. So with that brief introduction, I'll close the chat and hand raising when Bindoji is offering the class, after which we'll open up those channels if you have any questions and answers or clarifications. Thank you very much, Bindoji. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and Hari Om to all of you. My invocations. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Adayam Karunadayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibeda Vibhakine Vyomavatyapta Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The Gita Dhyana Shlokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Stunvandi Divyaistavai Vedai Sangapadakramो Panishadai Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyandi Yam Yogino Yasyandam na Vidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om. The 41st verse. Yoga Sanyasta Karmanam Jnana Chinna Sanchinna Samshayam Atmavandam na Karmani Nibadnandi Dhananjaya. Of that Yoga Samnyasta Karmana and Jnana Satchinna Samshayam, we discussed these 2 terms. To recap, Yoga Sanyasta Karmana means one who has renounced the action through yoga. Karmana Sanyasa, Yoga. So that is the way in which it is to be, the compound word has to be understood. Complete, definitive, irreversible renunciation. Thoroughly dissolved the karmas through yoga. And then the next word was Satchinna Samshaya. So recognizing Atman as Akarta, offering all actions as Yajna, and maintaining Brahma Karma Samadhi is the way in which the Yoga Sannyasa has done. Therefore, the Kartratva Abhimana, or the ownership, or the ego-based, that I am the doer, that is renounced through this yoga, and karma loses its binding characters. And in the Jnana Satchinna Samshaya, one who has doubt has been completely cut. Now Samshaya, we found out that in our previous classes that is the biggest hurdle, and it is also called the practical, aspect of ignorance. The Samshaya, Jnana, Samshaya, Viparya. So Samshaya, out of that, is the most difficult to eradicate. Ajnana, you can do one thing by gathering the knowledge, you can remove the ajnana. Viparya is also redeemable by knowing the right knowledge. But doubt, samshaya, is something which cannot be easily removed because the options for this or that, the wavering mind will always waver between the two options available. Therefore, to completely cut or thoroughly sever the doubt so that no thread remains of the doubt is what is exactly intended by the word jnana satchinna samshaya. The commentary identifies the specific doubts that jnana cuts completely. The layers of samshaya. In the Jnana Prakarana, which was from 33rd to 41, which has progressively resolving different layers of doubt. At the Vyavaharika level, it is the dharmic, is it dharmic to fight or not? Arjuna's question. Whether is it the fighting myself, killing my relatives, my teacher, my grandsire, is it dharmic to engage in a war like that? Or will I incur sin by annihilating my enemies, even though they are my relatives? So Arjuna's doubt, which was shown in the chapter 1, that was cut by the karma vichara on the analysis of karma, which was given in the 16 to 22nd verses of this chapter, thereby establishing that Shariram Kevalam Karma Na Kilbisham and Kartva Apina Nibadhyate. In the 21st verse, it is that Shariram Kevalam Karmana Kilbisham. When it is done, the body is doing the action with no ownership or doership in this. As a requirement of the bodily function, whatever karma is being done, that do not accrue any sin. Kartva apina nibadhyate. Even if it is engaging in such activity, it is not bound by the future repercussions of those actions. At a higher level is the mumukshu's doubt, one who is in the path of jnana. Will karma yoga really liberate? Can it lead to moksha? Is jnana really attainable by me? Whether I can attain the, jnana, which is the reason why the moksha will take place. These are all the mumukshu's doubt. So those were addressed by the verse 37, where it is Jnanagni Basmasat Kurite Arjuna, and the examples of Jnanaplava and Achirena Adhigachati, which was given in 36 and 39 verses, thereby establishing that Jnana's superiority, power and accessibility, thereby removing the doubts of a mumukshu. But the intellectual jignasu is the deepest of the doubt. He is intelligent and he is also, scientific in his approach. So he asked, is Atman and Brahman, are they truly the same? Atman is something which I say myself, the self in me, etc. How can I correlate that with the Brahman, which is the substratum for the whole creation? Or his doubt can be, is Akartrutva truly Atman Swarupa? Krishna says that Kartaram, Vidhi Akartaram Mam, Avyayam. So is that self, how can it be truly the nature of the self when all actions are happening in the presence of Atman. Even if it is a Sakshi, the presence of Atma is the reason why the, actions are happening. So how can one say that Atma is Akarta? So these are all the deepest doubt of a Jitnyasu. He is also a mumukshu, but he is more than a mumukshu, he is a Jitnyasu. He wants to know more. So these were cut by the Aparoksha Anubhava, which was mentioned in the 34th verse, which can be attained due to after the Guru Upatesha and Tattvavitaha, Tattvadarshana, which makes the real sannyasa of the doubts possible. So about the Atman's nature was not just literally or technically known, but it was experientially, experientially faced or endowed with by the Jignasu when this doubt is removed. That is when all the Chinna Samshaya, the doubts are all deep and uprooted without any chance for it, the doubts to come. When all the three layers of Samshaya, that is at the Vyavaharika level or the Mumukshu level or the Jitnyasu level, when they are completely severed, the practitioner is in a state of Jnana Satchinna Samshaya. That is what Krishna uses in this verse. And this corresponds to the absence of the failures of the Ajnana, Ashraddha, Samshaya, which are the failures which was listed out in the 40th verse. So when doing this by the Ajnana, Satchinna Samshaya, by doing the complete eradication of the doubt, the chances for ignorance, Ajnana, Ashraddha, lack of faith or devotion, and the doubt are removed. And then what does he become by that? He becomes Atmavanda. Now this word is a tricky word. The Sanskrit portion of that Atma plus Vanda means one who possesses Atman. One who is, beholding Atman. Now if somebody is beholding Atman or possessing Atman, Atman has to be an object separate from him. In the literal meaning of the word is Atmavanda is like that. Who is in possession of Atman. One who possesses Atman. So, this word is to be understood in its profundity, with which there are three qualifications which has to be understood, indicating the real meaning of the Atmavanta. Everything has Atman, or everything is in the realm of Atma, because Atma is Sarvatra. Sarvagataha means it's all pervading and everywhere. Then how can Atmavat, a possession of Atma, possible? And will it not be a distinguishing qualification from the Sarvagata or Sarvatra, from the all, everywhere and all, all pervading? When somebody is possessing Atman, is it really possible? So Shankaracharya is giving the explanation in two different aspects. First, he says that it is Atmanishta. So the Atmavanta is not one who possesses Atman, but one who is established in Atman. One who has made Atman as their own ashraya. That external ashraya, which we are all experiencing, that we are ashraya, or means support or the external support we are all using is the body, mind, intellect for our identity. But in the case of an Atmavanta or one who is an Atmanishta, he feels the same, what you call experience, what we are experiencing to our body, mind, intellect as they are experiencing Atman as who they are. And they see the body as an instrument for operation or an instrument for functioning. They do not identify that they are the body, mind, intellect complex. The Atnya, the one ignorant who is in the case of a doubt, is the Atman really possible like that, Anatmavanta, the negative aspect of Atmavanta. They have made external objects, relationship as their ashraya, support. Like I said, the body, related to the body, the relationship, it is my house, my everything, me or mine, that it's all the ashraya or the support which they are dealing with. But where Atmavan or Atmavanta has made Atman alone as their ashraya. He is a Nitya Tripta who is Nirashi. No, it's not having any dependency on anything external other than the knowledge aspect or the consciousness aspect of Atma. So their approach is not external, it is an internal dependency on oneself. And the other rendering which Shankaracharya uses is Atma Bhimana Vantaha. Atma Vantaha, Atma Bhayamana Vantaha means one whose abhimana or identification or the sense of the self, like we are saying that I am the body. I am a fat man, I am a thin man, I am tall man, I am a short man, or all those things which we associate with the body. The Atma Bhimani or the Atmavanta has not such identification with the physicality of the body. He is identifying with the self in me. The ordinary abhimana or the ordinary identification of the ego or the identity of the individuality is on the Deha Indriya Mana complex or the Dehatma Abhimana. The Atmavanta, on the contrary, is in the sense of self, is in Atman itself. They identify with the Satchidananda Swarupa or Satchit Ananda nature of Atman as recognized in their true Swarupa. And that is what we call it as the Pratyagatma Nishta or the stable identification and abidance with the Pratyagatma, the immediate inner bosom of the individual, which he has arrived as a fruit of Tattvajnana by the knowledge of this, and he has achieved the state of Jivan Mukti. So he is Atmavanta, he is a Jivan Mukta. So he is, Shankaracharya is saying Nitya Sattvaho of the Sthitaprajnasya Kabasha, that 45th verse of second chapter. Established in the Sattva always. But it deepens more, not merely Sattva Sthiti, but being in a state of Sattva, but Atma Sthiti. Atman is also Sat. So Sattva Sthiti is Atma Sthiti. The Atmavan is established not in a guna type of a Sattva Rajas Tamas, but a Satta, the established existence on that. And the Nirguna Atman is beyond all the gunas. So the connection to the threefold adhikara of Shraddhavan, Tatparaha and Samyendriya of the 39th verse, which has been cleared of all this vikshepa, volitionally committed to Atman, knowing and oriented towards Atma as the knowing principle. Such a person culminate in the state of Atmavanta, established in the state of Atma. So the Atmavanta is what the Shraddhavan, Tatparaha, Samyatendriya becomes when the Jnana fully arises to become a Jivan Mukta. And what is the outcome of that? Na karmani nibadhanti. Band means to bind. Nibadhanti means to bind extremely or, full hold of entire holding. That is that. Na nibadhanti. Do not bind. What? Karmani. Actions. Now this is where the Jivan Mukta engages in a world of action without being bound by the actions. Firmly, the Nibadhanti means to bind completely. But Nibadhanti means he is engaging actively and comprehensively, yet actions do not bind this knower because he is not depending upon the instrument of action. And not only that, the actions themselves lack the power to bind such a person because he is not identifying himself as a doer. So from a passive nibadhyate, which was used in the passive sentence was used in the 22nd verse, have changed into an active statement, a sentence, na nibadhanti, in the 41st verse. So the 41st verse goes deeper, stating that the ontological reasons, actions cannot bind one who is yoga samyatya karmaha jnana sanchinna samsheha atmavantaha. If these three qualifications you become a jivan mukta, then no action can bind you. Not merely that they happen not to be bound by actions, but the mechanism of binding cannot operate in such a person. Because for him, the karma is not an action. It is what is called karma pradicchaya, as per the Shankaracharya's explanation. It is a shadow of action, which was like the snake of the rope cannot bite. Same way, when the ignorance was there, the actions were supposed to be that of mind. But when I became the Jivan Mukta, the Jivan Mukta will not have that feeling that the karmas are of mine. Because as a non-doer, non-enjoyer, akarta is my nature. That is the thought which goes in the mind of a Jivan Mukta. So, karma is not binding such a person. The Nibadhanti, the subject in this karmani, which is the potential binding aspect of what is binding if then in that person in action. So in the 14th verse, Krishna said that Namam karmani limpanti. Actions do not stain me. As a Parameshwara or one who is in his Avatara Prakarana, he said that. Kartva api na nibadhyade. He said this in the 22nd verse. Even having acted is not bound by the action as the practitioner of Jivan Mukta in action. And here is the attitude or the internal feeling of the Jivan Mukta or a Sthita Pratnya. Na karmani nibadhanti. This progression from the akarta of an Ishwara's level to the Pandita's freedom of yoga sannyasta karmani is becoming complete when there will be the teaching that the karma is not binding a Jivan Mukta, reaching its most definitive resolution. And Krishna is calling Arjuna as Dhananjaya. The word Dhananjaya is actually used with a specific purpose as per Shankaracharya. Dhananjaya, the meaning is winner of wealth. Dhanam Jayati. Dhananjaya is among the most materially and militarily oriented person who goes into a worldly conquest and acquires wealth. So who can be more in action? But to such a person, Krishna is saying, actions won't bind you if you have the knowledge. Shankaracharya read the choice of Dhananjaya as the precise moment, as the philosophical and intentional usage by Krishna. Arjuna is addressed as the winner of wealth, Dhananjaya, precisely when being told that the karma does not bind. The implication is very clear, and it is personally addressing Arjuna. Even Dhananjaya, one who fights the battle, wins the wars, acquires the wealth through the action of war, is not bound by these actions. When? If he is yoga sannyasta karma, jnana satchinna samshayaha, atmavattaha. If these three are his innermost identification, the most active, intensive, world-engaged action, or the Dhananjaya, can be the most liberated person also. In the Gita's definitive anti-nivritti statement, that is, liberation does not require withdrawal from action. This is very important because in the statement which Krishna making to Arjuna is that next statement is that to get up and fight the war. And for that, before this verse, he is using the adjective Dhananjaya. So these three things, if achieved, that is yoga sannyasta karma, jnana satchinna samshaya, atmavanta, one who is abiding in Atma, who has no doubt on the aspect of anything regarding the relationship between the action and the doership and the akarta Atma. And how did he achieve that? He achieved that through the renunciation of karma through yoga. Such a person is liberated and does not need withdrawal from action. So the synthesis of karma yoga is like this. The positive teachings of karma yoga developed across the 3rd and 4th chapter. Yajna vision is all actions to be seen as yajna. Karma samagram praviliyate. When that is done, the karmas, all actions will dissolve in the yajna attitude of the doer. But then you have to also develop the akartrutva as a recognition of yajna, which was given in the 4th chapter 13 to 22nd verse. So karmani akarmaya pasyet naiva kinchit karoti. Such a person sees inaction in action, and therefore naiva kinchit karoti. Therefore he is not a doer of any action. Therefore he not a doer of action as engaged in action, but not owning the action. He is an akarta, a non-doer. Phalaspriha virama. Not only that, in the 14 to 22nd verse also included one more aspect of kama sankalpa vivarjita yadricha labha santushta. Kama sankalpa varjita. That is, in actions, the kama, a desire for the fruits of action, is varjita, means he has abandoned it, he has renounced it. Not only that, he has an attitude of yadricha labha santushta. He is not looking for an outcome of the action. Whatever befalls, whether it is due to the action or otherwise, he is happy in all outcomes. Whether a fruit comes or doesn't come, he is satisfied by that. So all this compressed into a renounced karma through yoga. Therefore, binding of the karma dissolved in the yoga of jnana. In the jnana satchinna samshaya is the jnana synthesis. The earlier one was a yoga synthesis. Here it is a jnana synthesis. In the jnana synthesis, the positive teaching of jnana was developed across the verses 33 to 40. Jnana yatnya as supreme was given in the 33rd verse. Guru Padesha through Pranipada, Pariprashna and Seva was discussed in the 34th verse. Na Punarmoham and Samadarshana, that equilibrium of, vision where Samadarshana was required, therefore no Punarmoham. Like there is no desire in him because of the Samadarshana. And he crosses the Sarvam Vrajinam. All these, attention, action, the binding of the requirement of the fruits of action, he crosses over using a raft of knowledge. And such a person burns all the karmas through jnanagni bhasmasat kurute. After having done that, he developed the shraddha and tatpara, jnana tatpara, and samyada indriya. He has controlled his indriyas from engagement. So he is parashantim apnoti. He attained the extreme bliss or the bliss of the Satchidananda. All these compressed into one aspect becomes the Jnana Satchinna Samshaya. The final synthesis is on the Atmavan, which is the ultimate Advaitic establishment. Started with the Brahma Karma Samadhi, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, Brahmagno Brahmanahudam. So Brahma Karma Samadhi is what was the beginning for the Atmavanta. Then he establishes himself as Jnana Avastitita Chedasa. The Chedas established in the Jnana, which was described in the 23rd verse. And what did it do to him? He became a Nityatripta Nirashraya. He became Nityatripta, eternally satisfied, and Nirashraya, without external depend upon the body mind complex. Sarvatma Samadarshana is what the outcome was for such a person, seeing all beings in Atman and in Parameshwara. So with this compressed Atmavan, the Pratyagatma recognition by the individual as his own Swarupa, he realized that Atman as the sole Ashraya for him, his own, that is the only dependency for him. And therefore he became Nitya Mukta, Jivan Mukta, therefore attaining the Parashanti. So these three is treated Shankaracharya as a compressed Mahavakyas of the chapter 4. Karma, Jnana and Atman into a single portrait of a Jivan Mukta. Yoga Sanyasta Karma, Jnana Satchinna Samshayaha, Atmavandaha. These are the three, the Mahavakya type of a compression what he did. And these three are not separate paths, but the same liberation described from three angles. The outer angle, action without binding. The epistemological angle, knowing without doubt, jnana sitchinna samshaya. And the ontological angle, saying that being the Atman, nitya bhutta shuddha swabhavaha. The Jivan Mukta is all three simultaneously. And for such a person, actions cannot bind them. Na karmani nibadnanti. With 41, the chapter's teaching, the philosophical teaching reaches finality and complete expression. So threefold, which was described as actions do not bind and doubts have been destroyed and is in liberation in association with by abiding in Atman. Therefore, Krishna closes the 4th chapter with the 42nd verse. The final personal call to Arjuna. Tasmad ajnana sambhudam hridastam jnanasina atmanaha chittva vinam samshayam yoga atmastishta uttishta bharata. Therefore, cut the doubt seated in your heart, born out of ignorance, by the jnana's own sword. Arise, established in yoga, O Arjuna, O Bharata. The resounding conclusion of this final verse is the philosophical portrait which of the previous verse of 41, but converted into a practical command by Krishna, so that the chapter is an instruction, also a preparation for Arjuna to get ready to the war. The Bhashya is quite slightly long in this 41st verse before I go to the 42nd one. Yoga Sanyasta Karmana, one who has renounced action through yoga. Paramartha Darshana Lakshanena Yogena Sanyastani Karmani Yena Paramartha Darshinaha Dharma Dharma Akhyani Tam Yoga Sanyasta Karmana. Shankaracharya defines Yoga Sanyasta Karmana. That person who is a knower of the supreme goal, by whom actions called righteousness or unrighteousness, dharma, adharma, have been renounced through the yoga and characterized as the knowledge of the supreme goal. That is what is the Yoga Sanyasta Karmana. Kadam Yoga Sanyasta Karmanan Ityaha. How does one become detached from actions through yoga? Uchyate. Krishna says, Jnana Satchinna Samshayam Jnanena Atma Ishwarya Ekatva Darshana Lakshanena Satchinnaha Samshayaha Yasya Saha Jnana Satchinna Samshayaha. So the definition for Jnana Satchinna Samshaya, as Krishna has mentioned, is that one whose doubts, Samshaya, has been fully dispelled, Satchinna, Jnana, by Jnana, by knowledge, characterized as the realization of the identity of the individual self and God. Atma Aishwarya Ekatva Darshana Lakshanena. Hey Dhananjaya, O Arjuna, Ya evam yoga sanyastam karma, one who has thus renounced action through yoga, tam atmavandam, who is not inadvertent, apramattam, not careless, karmani, actions, guna cheshta rupena drishtani, seen as activities of the guna, guneshu vartande, that is being referred here. Na nibandhanti, it does not bind such a person. Anishtadi rupam phalam na arabante. They do not produce a result in the form of evil. So, the Bhashya is what has been detailed. We discussed that in detail. Therefore, the 42nd verse is the culminating verse, where the 41 presented the most compressed and complete portrait of a Jivan Mukta or a Karma Yogi through Yoga Sannyasta Karma, Jnana Satchinna Samshaya Atmavanta, and declared that the definitive resolution, what is that? He is not bound by the action. Na karmani nibadnanti. Now the final movement to the verse 42 now delivers the final, direct, urgent, personal call to Arjuna to translate what he has learned till now. Everything established across the first verse to the 41st verse into a single commanding two-part imperative to personally take up by Arjuna. The verse is very structurally and rhetorically placed in this chapter as the most powerful verse in this whole chapter. It identifies the problem precisely. Ajnana Sambhuda Samshayam. That is the problem, which is coming in this verse. We will analyze these words when we go into the word analysis. The doubt born of ignorance. It locates with anatomical precision where is it located. Kritstam, seated in the bosom of the heart. It specifies the instrument required for the resolution. The problem, the location, now the instrument for resolution. Jnana asina atmanaha. With the sword, that is jnana. The knowledge itself is the sword with which it has to be done. And jnana of what? Jnana of Atman. It prescribes twofold action. Not only that the problem has been identified as samshaya, ignorance, and it is located in the heart, and the instrument with which it has to be eradicated is the knowledge of Atman, and in twofold action. Chittva, having cut. Atishta, being established in the yoga. Therefore, uttishta, rise, means when these two are done, then you have to wake up or get up. It addresses Arjuna personally above Bharata, the lineage of Bharata, in whose precision entire chapter teaching has been addressed. So this verse, 42nd verse, translates the entire philosophical edifice of the entire 4th chapter into one direct command for action to Arjuna. Everything what has been said as the Avatara Prakarana, Karma Vichara, the Yoga Prakarana, the Jnana Prakarana, all of them have been preparation for the final moment where Arjuna is being told to arise and pick up, get ready for the war. Yasmat Karma Yoga Anushtad Asuddhikshaya Hedu Asuddhikshaya Heduka Jnana Satchinna Samshayaha Na Nibadhyate Karma Bihi Jnanagni Dagda Karmatva Deva. Since one whose doubts has been destroyed by knowledge arising from the destruction of the impurities of the body, mind, etc. as a result of practice of karma yoga. He does not get bound by any actions owing to the mere fact of his actions being burnt by the knowledge. Yasmat cha jnana karma anushtana vishaye samshayavan vinashyati. Since one who has doubts with regard to the practice of yoga, of knowledge, the action gets ruined. Tasmat jnana sambhudam kristam jnanasina atmanaha chitvainenam samshayam yogamatishto bharata. Tasmad. Now this word tasmad is a statement therefore. The meaning of the word therefore. It is to bring in that reason from all this has been established, the entire teaching of the 4th chapter. From the cosmic parampara, which is where he said that I have advised this to Vivaswan, the first creation, etc. To the liberation of the 41st verse where he said that Atmavan. So therefore means that the entire first to 41st verse should come in your mind. Therefore Shankaracharya says that Tasmad is the most philosophically loaded word in the entire 4th chapter. Because it asserts the command to cut the doubt, establish in yoga and then arise. Logically necessary consequence of everything which has been established by Krishna as Parameshwara himself as Akarta Avyaya of the 13th verse. And the karma do not stay in the 14th verse where he said that therefore action can be taken without karma getting a bondage into that. And Jnanagni burns all karma. Therefore the Jnana is the complete solution for burning the idea that the karma can bind. Samshayats Atma, one who has doubt in the Jnana, he is destroyed. Therefore Samshaya must be cut. Doubts must be eradicated. And Yoga Sannyasta Karma, one who are renounce the karma through the yoga, and you don't have the doubt on that possibility with that. Therefore, tasmad. That is why the word tasmad has been used by Krishna to indicate all these actions. It is the function, Anumana's conclusion, Nigamana, in the 5-member the Tarka Nyaya sequence. Parameshwara has been established. The premises as tasmad is the final conclusion. For therefore you have to arise and get ready for the war. The used words among Atjnana Sambhudam, born out of ignorance. Sambhudam means born. Atjnanena Sambhudam, Atjnana Sambhudam. That is completely born by ignorance or produced entirely due to the ignorance. The root cause of samshaya is Atjnana. The doubt about Atman, about Karma Yoga, about liberation, about the what you call the inquiries into Atma-jnana and the ignorance which is creating the Mula Vidya of the Dehatma Adhyasa, which is being superimposed on the Atman. All these things are samshayas for a person who is not having the what you call Shraddha. So samshaya is not an outcome of careful analysis, but has found genuine problem in the avidya. It is the byproduct of avidya. The confusion that avidya generates about Atman's nature. Only genuine vichara, inquiry, will resolve this samshaya. The fact that it persists indicates that avidya has not been carefully removed or completely removed, or not careful reasoning has been done by the individual. Therefore, ajnana sambhudam is born out of ajnana. And the solution for that is only jnana. No argument, no vitarka or any type of argument, tarka, vitarka, nothing will this thing. Samshaya is born out of ignorance, ajnana. And the cure, antidote for that is only jnana. No argument, no data, no external authority, only direct aparoksha anubhava. That dissolves the ajnana at the root and thereby dissolves the ajnana sambhuta samshaya. The samshaya, the doubts which has been worn by the ajnana is being removed completely. The Arjuna's specific samshaya is ajnana sambhuta, is born out of the ignorance. The doubt he expressed in the beginning of Gita, chapter 1, should I fight? Will I incur papa? Who am I to determine what is dharma, what is adharma? Is not genuine. These are all the genuine philosophical inquiry which is born out of avidya. This is the product of avidya, confusion of Atman as the body, with difference between what is nitya and anitya. Even when the body is destroyed, the Atman is not destroyed. He was not knowing that. And he is also ignorant about the akartrutva of the Atman. He is thinking that actions are done by the body, which he thinks he is the body, with the karta. The entire Gita has been progressive dissolution of this avidya root. At the very root it has to be cut now. Where is it located? Seated in the heart, hridastham. Hridstha. Hrid means heart. Stha means stationed or located. The anatomical precision of locator of this, of the doubt being there, is a very interesting subject. The heart is considered a Vedantic usage not only for the samshaya. It is not the physical organ of a heart which is being indicated here. It is the innermost cave of the andakarana, inner instruments, where pratyagatma is also available, is the most immediately accessible location of Atma. Hridaye hi as esha Atma. The Brihadaranya Upanishad said, this Atman is in the heart. Described as a Hridaya Pundarika Madhye Varti, dwelling in the heart, lotus of the heart. There are numerous Upanishads, and we heard that same thing in Angushtamatra Purusha, Hridaya Sthita, in the Katha Upanishad. We learned that, that like a thumb-shaped Atman is located in the heart, etc. The irony of the hearts located is advaitic and profound. The samshaya that doubts the Atman is seated in the very place where Atman dwells. The ajnana sambhuda samshaya, or the ignorance born out of the doubt, occupies the same abode, Atman's, the heart. This is the Advaitic paradox of avidya. The reason is very interesting. Ignorance of Atman occurring within the Atman's own field of luminosity, self-luminosity. is like the darkness attempting to exist in the very chamber of a lamp. There is the darkness at the bottom of every candle, every lamp, the bottom of that. It is the place where the light emits entire room, but its own very bottom has got darkness. Same is the same case here. This doubt or the ignorance is in the same place where the Atma is dwelling. So the doubt hridastham, the seated here, there in the heart where Atman is already present, yet the Ajnani does not recognize the Atman. Now there is where you have to understand that. How this can be now sorted out. Shankaracharya read hridastham as the most urgent characterization of samshaya. It is not an external problem to be solved in the outer world, but it is the inner problem seated in the very core of the antakarana, at the center where Atman's self-recognition should naturally arise, but is being blocked by ajnana. This interiority of samshaya demands an interior solution. Hence, jnanasina atmanaha, the sword of Atman or atmajnana, rather than any external remedy. This need to be discussed in detail because the Muntaka Upanishad also declares Vidyade Hridaya Grandhi Chidyande Sarvasamsheha Chiyande Chasya Karmani Tasmin Drishte Paravare. We will discuss this aspect of ignorance and knowledge located in the same place of the bosom of the heart or the antakarana. How it is to be understood, how we can eradicate it, it's an interesting subject by itself, which will be the final discussion, which we will do it tomorrow before we wind up this chapter. I'll stop here. We will continue tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Thank you very much, Binduji. I've opened the chat and hand raising. Like you had pointed, personally, I think all the doubts are cleared. Now I have to maintain that before the mind comes back. So the constant Sravana Manana.
Right. See, the advantage of these scriptures is that it is there right in front of our eyes, or that type of an expression. But we do not see. Pashyannapi jana pashyati muta. Shankaracharya uses that in the Mugam Moha Mudgara, that verse. So that is the same. We are having that knowledge, yet we are ignorant about it. We are self with the knowledge, yet ignorance is with us. Why Srini is not coming up?
There's some glitch. I tried inviting him again. It says the user has been already invited. So Srini might have to try exiting the room and coming back. Binduji, have you tried inviting him? Oh,
Yeah,
there he is.
he has come. Namaste, Srini.
Namaste, Binduji. I think very beautiful. I always compared it with a computer, Binduji. Like somewhere deep inside the computer, in the processor, there must be, I don't know, it's called a diode or transistor or whatever. So all it does is it flips from 0 and 1. And that is
Yes.
the heart of the computer. So in a way, the way this buddhi is explained even in the antarendriya, it always feels that buddhi is only zero or one. 0 maybe indicating ajnana and 1 indicating jnana. It's so subtle. So that's what I always remember. I mean, visualize it as some deep transistor or diode within us, which is either 0 or 1, that kind of thing.
Beautiful example.
It is the two engineers connecting at a deeper level, right, Bindoji?
Yes.
Because I think the Antarendriya always fascinated me, because when we say Manas is Sankalpa Vikalpatmika and Buddhi is Nischayatmika, is a very technical way of saying Buddhi is only 0 or 1. There is nothing else, because otherwise if we take it as intellect, then even knowledge, content, like somebody is intelligent, there is a lot of unnecessary thing that comes in. But if we look at Buddhi as just 0 or 1, it is very easy to understand, I feel. I always feel it that way, basically.
You're absolutely right. That is how Buddhi is Sankalpa or Vikalpa. These are the two things which is there. And when both are being removed, then your jnana, the result is jnana. Jnana is the basis on where the Sankalpa and Vikalpa were dancing. But when they dance, or the switch between the 0 and 1, when that is being eradicated, what is remaining is the output, which is the jnana.
Yeah. And also this heart concept can get very confusing, because if we talk about the physical heart or any other placement of the heart, it is almost like something we are seeing on the monitor. But actual heart they're talking about is not in the monitor, but it is deep somewhere within the CPU, which is not on the monitor like a physical heart or something, right? So that is one way I understand.
That's right. It is not only in the CPU. It's in the CPU there is a processor. In the processor there is inside the processor it is located.
Yeah. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Thank you, Srini, for your example.
Thank you, Bindoji.
Patrick has got a DP, a new name. He had become the Sheriff of Vancouver.
Sheriff of Vancouver Island, Bindoji.
Yeah. Yes.
Patrick is an islander.
Namaste, Rao.
Namaste, Bindoji. Bindoji, my question is regarding the Nishkama Karma. So, the sole purpose of it is for Chitta Shuddhi only, right? Or is there any other, like for example, for a Jnani, would he be simply sitting in meditation without doing anything at all once Chitta Shuddhi is completed?
No, that is what it was in the beginning of this chapter which we discussed, no? It is that he is in action. He is a person who say karmani akarmaya pashyet. We sees inaction in action. But that means since his karmas have been, renounced, that doesn't mean he is becoming you can never be. One can never be inactive, even if he sits idle. If his mind is active, that is an action. But when that identification comes with the Atma, is I am the Atma and I am a Karta and I have no desires, then the actions which I am doing is not done by me. It is karma chaya. It is appeared to be karma, from my point of view, there is no karma, but it appears to be a karma from others' point of view who sees me as a physical being, not as Atma. But when we start seeing everything as Atma, the physical name and forms are only appearances. Then we will also see that there is no action really taking place in any appearances all.
Okay, so the physical thing, fine. But let's say even if you want to, let's say go to some temple or something, or let's say even teach Vedanta class, you need to do some planning, right? That planning has to be done. So there will be still manovrittis and all. So how to handle that?
There is no doership in the manovrittis, no. See, this is the most difficult aspect to understand. We cannot think about action without planning or meditation or volition. Now imagine all the actions which is happening in your dream. Is it due to volitional action? You became the dreamer, and the dream world, every action, everything is going on. Is there any volition in it involved? No. Same is the case in the waking also. Waking is not different. But we identify with the mind and the intellect and the body, and therefore we create a image that there is a volition on the part of the mind or the intellect. But actually speaking, it is not there at all. Karmas are happening due to gunas of the prakriti. Guna guneshu vartande. That is what is Krishna told. It is not that we are doing certain things. It is all the sattva, rajas, tamas in interaction. Their action is what is there in the body also, in the world outside also. If a tree is working or a dog is working or this human body is working, it is all due to the guna guneshvartan. And I am not the body. I am the substratum, the Atma, Brahman. And therefore I am akarta. The body is the one guna which is in the guna is working. Guna is working not due to any volition. That is the swabhava of the gunas. So that actions are natural happenings. On the face of it, we identify with the mind and intellect and we feel that it is done by me. But you are not doing anything. You are the one in whose light the actions are happening. But you are not the one who is doing it. It is being done by the body, the mind and intellect, which is part of the guna prakriti. So when you identify that you are the self-luminous or Atma Prakasha, in your Atma Prakasha, when the actions are taking place, you are not the doer.
Let's see, even that's I agree with that. But even the appearance that is there, that is happening, right? So is everything predetermined? Something which is at micro
There is
level
nothing
is just...
don't call it as predetermined, call it as swabhava, nature of the gunas.
Okay. But the changes that are happening, like you see, even if you take a movie analogy, there is some machine that is running the reel which is doing something, right? So what was there tomorrow? What we see tomorrow was not there yesterday. So that was my question, and I am just pure witness.
The tomorrow, yesterday, and everything is time and space is a product of ignorance. Because they are not real. Both time and space are appearances. And because of the time and space, we also create yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And that we feel it is real because we have given a reality to the time and space. Yet time and space cannot be defined in the sense of anything else which we are seeing, experiences. Everything, therefore, once you begin with a imaginary thing like time and space and causation, all three are imaginary, what we call it as unreal. Thereafter, what happens with the unreal things, even if it is appearing to be real, it is just like a prince of a barren lady now going for a war and, winning a war, becoming, established as a king of a throne of a king of a country, etc. But the problem is that such a child itself is impossible to be there as a prince to become a warrior. But then once you move into the story appears to be real. He was born and brought up like that, and you might have heard this story from Yoga Vasishta. The whole story starts with the beginning is saying that there was a prince for a barren lady. But everybody forget that was the beginning of the story. But the rest of the story was built so beautifully, everybody thought that this whole story is real. Until the question is asked, how can all this happen if the lady cannot bear a son? The son itself was not there. It was an unborn son, becoming an unborn prince, becoming a warrior in a war, becoming a king, all those things. Same way, the space, time and causation is a born out of what you call our awareness as awareness. But we separated it out from awareness as giving independent existence for time, space and causation. Without awareness, there is no space. Without awareness, there is no time. Without awareness, there is no causation. It's all in awareness what is happening. So they are not different from awareness. One awareness I started calling it as space. Another awareness I call it as time. Another awareness I call it as thing. So awareness has not become three. It is one awareness itself which is appearing as three. And then when the time, space and causation is now three independent reality. Same thing which the Taittiriya Upanishad said that. We studied it also in detail. Tasmat etasmat atmana akasha sambhutaha. Akashat vayu, vayu ragni, agnirapaha. Adya prithvi, prithvi aushada, aushadabhiyo annam, annat purushaha. So the human being became a reality. Separate from Atma. How can it be? If Atma became Akasha, Atma became the Vayu, Agni, Apa, everything became. How can the Atma, the Purusha be different from Atma? No. Purusha is now treated as different. Same is the case with the space, time and causation. That knowledge of that time, space and causation can happen only if we remove our samshaya, doubt, from our understanding that is what is holding me, that doubt is what is holding me from understanding what is that reality. And once that doubt is eradicated totally, no questions will be there, because you become Atma, you are the Atma even now, that which we'll see it in the tomorrow's class. How did that Atma coexist with the ignorance in the heart?
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Binduji.
Thank you, Rob.
If there are no further questions.
Yeah, we can meet tomorrow then.
Sure. So thanks everyone for coming and attending this session. We'll reconvene tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. IST, where Bindoji will complete chapter 4. after which there is going to be a break time when Binduji is traveling, and we'll resume the chapter 5, the schedule of which will be revealed when Binduji is settled in Australia. In the meantime, Yash and myself might schedule the regular rooms where we will try to get the replays of chapter 3 and 4 going. And as a gentle reminder, when Binduji restarts the class, it will be at 6:30 a.m. IST, just to mark in your calendars that it's going to change. And it will be only on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. As always, thank you very much, Binduji. Over to you to close the room.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Srini. Thank you, Rahul, for your questions. We will complete the 4th chapter, and if time permits, I will give a synopsis of first to 42 in the Prakarana names and briefly explain that so that you get a bird's eye view of the chapter 4. And any question and answers we can have as usual. Thank you all. Hari Om. Good night.
Good night. Hari Om.